Hello, intrepid investigators, and welcome to Design Dash Episode 2, the Miskatonic Repository Edition. Today, we have gathered 3 incredible designers and one very special guest host to compete head-to-head for prestige and glory. They will be challenged to create a mystifying encounter in just 15 minutes, based on a surprise prompt we will reveal later on, so stay tuned. You can decide who wins. After the show, fans can vote for their favorite encounter on Twitter, so be sure to follow us at Roll20 app and keep an eye out for the poll. We will also gather an internal top secret panel of judges who will review each encounter anonymously and rate them. Those scores combined will grant one designer the title of Miskatonic Repository's Design Superstar. So let's kick this off with introductions. My name is Brooke Whitney, and I will be one of your hosts today. I am a partner relations representative at Drive-Thru and a big fan of horror, so I'm extra excited about today's guests. But before we get into that, Danny, please take it away.
Hey y'all, my name is Danny, my pronouns are he, him, and I am the community manager for Roll20. But that's enough about me because we also have a special co-host with us today, Brooke. We have Bridgett Jeffries. So Bridgett, if you'd like to just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I have a fun little icebreaker question for you.
Ooh, fun little icebreaker. I'm looking forward to that. Hi, everyone. My name is Bridgett Jeffries. I am Chaosium's community coordinator. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. I'm figuring it out day by day as well. Allegedly, there are 2 things that I'm focusing on: community content, cultivating that community, getting those numbers out there, getting those people out there, bringing new people in, like the Miskatonic Repository. That is one of our technically 4 programs, because we have the Miskatonic Repository for Call of Cthulhu, the Johnstown Compendium for RuneQuest, Explorer Society for 7th. You guys know what it is. Pendragon is en route, baby. It'll be here soon. The other half of my job is making sure that you see Chaosium games at your favorite convention. So if you're at a convention and you don't see our games, holler at your girl. I'll see if I can fix that for us. And I'm super stoked to be here right now. The energy is absolutely fabulous.
I know, pre-show, we've already been laughing. My cheeks hurt from smiling. We have a chaotic bunch with us. But Bridgett, in our research pre-show, we saw that you run Symphony Sonatas, which is a 60-minute improvised horror stream. The word sonata is very evocative. Do you have any favorite music that you're listening to?
Oh,
Earworms?
yeah. You know what I was listening to right before I jumped on here is dark orchestral covers of songs. So like right now, I'm going to mispronounce the name of the group, but it's Two Way. It's
Oh.
yeah, okay, I had to pronounce that right.
Yeah, no, I think that's how I say it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Two Way. They do
Good
these
stuff.
really haunting, sexy minor key covers. So literally, it was Gangster's Paradise on repeat. The dark orchestral version as I was getting ready to jump into this chair. It's a real mood setter.
I love
I'm
that.
putting that on right now. That sounds amazing.
It is. I can vouch for that.
Thank you. Listen.
Very cool. We're super excited to have Bridgett here with us today. But let's go ahead and meet our intrepid designers. This is very exciting to have Jade, TA, and Sheridan with us today. Jade, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
My name is Jade Griffin. I am an author and illustrator. I've been doing Call of Cthulhu adventures, publishing them for 2 years and running them for about 3.5. And I have a lot of fun doing it and wish that there was more time to subject more people to it.
Time is always the big baddie.
Gosh, I have 3 adventures so far in the Amor Fati series. It means embraced fate. So there's a little bit of that in each of the 3 adventures. They can either be run as one-shots or you can run them as a campaign. I also write NPC series because I'm almost exclusively character-driven. And just because the players leave the table, that doesn't mean the characters shut up. So I write their adventures and I publish those too. Starts with the Journals of Lacey Anderson Moore, Monster Hunter of the 1800s. That one and the 2 following ones will be on Amazon Kindle if anybody wants to pick them up. Also available in hard copy. I have the first 2 books and the 3rd one is out in the fall to complete that series. And then I jump in with a second NPC, Mr. Smith, who works the front desk. Am I worthy? That's pretty much it. Yeah.
In our research, we saw that you are an author and illustrator of the long-running fairy tale superhero webcomic 56 Shards. I want to know, what would your superpower be if you had to have one?
I believe I would choose invisibility. All the other ones come with too much baggage.
What would be the first thing you would do if you turned invisible?
I'm one of those weird people that likes to watch people but not let them know that I'm watching them. Because I'm not just usually socially awkward. I've found that I'm like a big extrovert too. So it would allow me to study their behavior and maybe understand them better. I don't get humans.
Our next designer is T.A. Newman. T.A., please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm T.A. Newman. You will find me most likely hanging out at the Miskatonic Playhouse, where we celebrate a lot of the community work. We actual play it. We're a podcast. We run video, we run audio, and yeah, we're doing a hell of a lot. It's really, really great, actually. We've kind of set ourselves up to embrace community, but the fantastic thing is that the community's embraced us right back at us. So it's fantastic. I'm also an author. I've got 3 best-selling scenarios, and yeah, I'm also Bridget's secret best friend. Not so secret anymore, apparently, Bridget.
We announced during this stream. Congratulations, guys.
Oh my God, what a monumental moment.
Thank you.
It's pretty big. I saw the word dash and I was fearful of running, but then I realized what you were actually talking about and invited us to. And I got loads of ideas, none of them good. So I'm really hoping I've got those out of the way and we're in a place where some little gem is going to drop is the intention.
TA, you mentioned the Miskatonic Playhouse and that you're also an author. And one of the actual plays that you do on the channel is The Prisoner's Dilemma. So the audience is dying to know, if you were a prisoner for anything, what would it be?
Ooh, that could go in a number of ways. I think if I was being self-indulgent, I'd be a prisoner for books in a library, but that's a lame answer. So what I'm going to go with that's slightly more horrific is I'd be a prisoner for horror movies, not just the ones I like, all of them, the ones that are rubbish, the ones that scare the hell out of you. So you're sitting there and you're watching things and you're just going, this got nothing. And then the next minute you're going, oh my God, why am I crying? I think that's what I'd be a prisoner for. Forced engagement in the source material.
Oh, I love it. I honestly, horror is, I don't think there's a bad horror movie. There's just different taste levels in horror movies.
Because bad horror is good. That's the thing, isn't it? Bad horror is
Exactly.
good. Yeah.
100%. And last but not least, Sheridan, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, hey, y'all, I'm Sheridan, calling from beautiful Dallas, Georgia. And I'm a little resentful that I have to follow the guy with a British accent, so I don't get to sound as cool as he does. But yeah, as far as some of my experience, I obviously love DMing Call of Cthulhu, as we all do. Love making the props, love creating the spooky atmospheres for my players with the sound effects and everything. I published one scenario to lasting critical acclaim. It sold, I think, 400 copies, which is frankly 399 more than I thought it would sell, which has been pretty exciting. So you can check that out at Bride of the Wilds at Drive-Thru RPG. As far as other creative endeavors, I also really enjoy speculative cartography. So I really like basically making maps of fantasy worlds. Been doing it for, gosh, I don't even know how many years now. And I've done that for 3 books, which is very exciting. So y'all can follow me at Ancient Mariner 115 on Instagram. My first thought was, who gave you my email address? And then the wheels turned in my head for a minute. I said, oh yeah, that's right. I signed up for that.
That is awesome. And as a fellow Southerner, you're from the Southeast, or you live in the Southeast, and then you also like mixing the Southeast of the United States with eldritch horrors, which are both yummy things to me. So I have to know, what's your favorite Southern dish?
That's a good question. There's so many amazing ones that are heinously unhealthy for you. Like, there's no getting around it. But I have to say, fried pickles is probably one of my all-time favorite. Fried pickles with like spicy, tangy mayo on the side, and you get to dip it in that. Oh man, like if you just walk up to somebody, and you say, would you like to eat 45 pickle slices? They'll say, why in the world would I want to do that? Well, we deep fried them, and here's like a whole tub of mayo for you to eat. And all of a sudden, yeah, I'll have all of them. So there we go.
And if that's not horror enough, Brooke, I don't know what is. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Brooke, and we can get this party started.
All right, everyone. Are you guys ready to jump in and get started designing an encounter in just 15 minutes?
Let's go.
Okay, your surprise prompt for today is Cruise of Cthulhu. We want to hear about screams on the high seas today. So, Danny, we'll set the timer. 15 minutes, Danny.
15-minute with a 3-second countdown. Ready, set. Oh, I should say 3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Boom.
And they are off to the races. Amazing. And now we get to chat with Bridgett. Yay!
You guys probably saw us at GenCon, which was an amazing convention. It was so nice meeting everybody. It was so awesome hanging out with you guys. Thank you for stopping by the booth. Oh, you got your thing autographed? Yeah, we were at the Ennies. We got nominated. We won the Rivers of London. I hope.
Put that out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so great meeting you, Bridgett, because it
was a pleasure. Our selfie was blurry, so if we could take another one, that'd be great.
I'm always down for selfies.
I'm screenshotting this right now.
Right. We have announced the dates for ChaosiumCon 2024, which will be happening again in Ann Arbor. This will be our third convention that we've hosted up there, and it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's 4 days of as much Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest, 7th, Quest Worlds, Pendragon, Rivers. It's a celebration of Chaosium IP with some of the heaviest hitting, fantastically brilliant creative people in the industry. So congratulations. You should have the dates for that by now. Book your hotel. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll put the dates in the description.
Yes, this is the way.
Check those out. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So you're going to be at ChaosiumCon. What are you most looking forward to that people can check out while they're there?
Ooh, you got me. Okay, so I'm one of the organizers for ChaosiumCon. I'm one of 3. So Brooke, you've got my back against the wall because I want to tease out some of the amazing, sexy things that are coming. But I will just say this much because I don't know if I'm legally allowed to tease out some of the amazing, sexy things that are coming. Hands down, one of my favorite things about that convention is the intimate size and how everyone is on the exact same page with the IP. So you've been to gaming conventions before. You know, sometimes you've got a hodgepodge of like miniatures, and then you've got like maybe tabletop games, you got board games, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on, which is amazing for diversity, and especially if you just like to diversify your palette for playing. But there's something so amazing about being in one convention space where everyone knows who Cthulhu is. Everyone knows who Mike Mason is. You can hang out with him at a bar. You can go play Rivers of London with Lynn Hardy. You can sit down with the head of our community content program, Mob, and just be like, hey, let me chop it up with you. I got some questions about the program, because it's so intimate. It's all tied together, and we're all there with the same IP. It's refreshing, and it's dope. And it's probably one of my top 3 favorite cons.
I don't have much experience with Call of Cthulhu, but now I want to come. So
come on, baby, I got you. Holler at your girl. I got you.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you, Bridgett, and chime in at any time, Danny. I want to know, since we briefly spoke about symphony sonatas, where in 60 minutes you guys improvise horror from chat suggestions, which sounds a little familiar, a little bit like this. What ingredients do you think are needed to sort of improvise and come up with things on the spot? How do you go from a suggested idea that can be kind of out there and crazy to something complete?
Yes. Danny, do you want to just like tag team and bounce off of each other on this one? I tell you my experience,
sure.
You tell me yours.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're going with completely improvised material, don't take yourself too seriously, because everyone knows that you're working with improvised material. What you come off with the seat of your pants is probably going to stick, because everyone knows that you didn't plan for this.
Exactly. And that's what makes it fun. It's the rule of improv. It's the yes and. So there's nothing really that you can do wrong in an improvised scene other than almost be closed off to not taking advice or going with the flow of things.
Yes. Yeah. Don't take yourself too seriously. We managed to stick the landing on the horror 8 out of 10 times. And either way, it's more or less okay, because we're coming together and we're having a good time. The rules light, so you don't have to be, buckled or shackled down with mechanics. And it's like campfire storytelling. So literally just go and have a good time. And to Danny's point with the yes and, for storytellers of any type, that aren't conditioned to improving or feel like they need to be super buckled down with prep and having everything hyper focused, it can be really refreshing just to be like, here's an hour of me just having a good time.
Exactly.
It can be super liberating.
Yeah. Well, we're 5 minutes into the design dash process. Let's take a peek at some of our designers' work and see what they're working on. So let's start off with TA's design doc. And
But I feel like I've just got a really positive attitude about this whole thing and how we're moving forward. I can just see the positivity streaming from everybody. And I think going into this with a real can-do mindset, what are we talking about? Cultists, monsters, insanity. We're going to have a great time, guys.
we can see what they're working on.
My favorite part is trying to interpret what this is going to turn out and be completely wrong about it every time.
My eyes went immediately to a romantic getaway, and I love a good romance trope in horror.
Yes.
That is fun.
When you have a couple in a horror movie, you just know it's going all wrong very fast.
Very, very quickly. I love this prompt in particular because it automatically inserts like isolation, which is like really easy to do in horror because you're out on the ocean, you're on a ship, and whatever TA is doing with this, there's something off about the captain. That's a great subtle way to start building up that tension. He's stuttering, he's walking awkwardly. Ooh.
A little foreshadowing, and plus the ocean is scary. Like I just look at the ocean, I'm like, wow, that's terrifying. Anything could be under the surface.
All right, let's hop over to Sheridan's doc.
I have the complete fiction ready at hand, so I will be reading all of this during the entire stream, and fully intend to quote every page during my 15 minutes of Design Dash.
Ooh. I love how we can give one prompt and it goes into so many different directions.
Creative people are so creative. I love them.
Yeah.
So now not only are you on a cruise, now you have the element of cold too.
Yep.
Oof.
I love the setting. 1920s. It's our biggest seller in Call of Cthulhu. If you ever wanted to know what era sells the most, 1920s does it.
Love it.
And I love how so many of these immediately have a hook, like something is wrong, just a very small little thing that I have no doubt is going to expand over the course of each of these scenarios.
Yes. Up, he slid out with indescribable. You can't have Call of Cthulhu without indescribable horror of some sort.
All right, now let's check out what Jade is doing.
I'd like to describe myself as a creative firestorm.
Ooh, a little romance here as well.
Yeah. Ooh, we're tropical here. Yes. We're back to the heat.
I love that Jade is already kind of giving ideas about like what types of characters you can play too.
Yes. Ooh, with some historical nuggets too. The original voyage went out 10 years without a hitch prior. Ooh.
Well, what's going to be the hitch now?
Ooh. Ooh.
This is a very, very promising start. I'm already compelled. I want to know what happens next.
Yes.
I'm going to give the contestants a 5-minute warning just so that they know what to expect.
And Bridgett, I want to know, so you've participated in a ton of actual plays for Call of Cthulhu and Miskatonic. What was one experience that you will never forget?
Oh, oh wow. That's such a great question. An actual play experience that I will never forget. You know what? This is going to be touchy-feely, and I should be able to stick this landing without crying. But one of the first major productions I joined in on was with Becca Scott and the Calyx. And at the point that she brought me onto her show, I was still just now getting started. Like I might have had this mic set up, maybe, or maybe I was on like still like a Yeti on the desk. I didn't have any lighting. I remember on our pre-show, she was like, "Hey, you look great, but it's daytime. How are you going to look when it's nighttime?" I was like, "Oh, I have to get lighting. I have to care." Okay. I was that new. And I think one of the things that stood out to me the most, at least in this industry, is that she genuinely took the time to make sure that I was okay. In character and out of character, she took the time with the lighting and with the equipment setup and the expectations of her platform. And it was just, it's really nice to be around a celebrity of that status who's just like, "All right, babe, nope, listen, everyone starts somewhere. Let me help you." And to this moment, I still reach out to her. It's like, "Hey, I'm about to start my own Twitch platform. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Can you help?" She's like, "Yeah, let's schedule a call." Really? human beings are they just make my heart happy. So what sticks out to me most? The fact that someone showed me kindness when I was new.
And I think that's the great thing about Miskatonic, because new designers have this opportunity to dig into an established mythos and spin their own ideas, and it's just an on-ramp to getting started, and it can lead them to designing their own systems and creating future content. So I love that community content programs exist for that reason.
And listen, we love you guys so much for the support. When I say y'all are the rock stars, thank you for propping us up the way y'all do. Y'all are the true MVPs.
And I've learned I just need to play more Call of Cthulhu. That is the takeaway from all of this.
Listen, you got 3 bestsellers on this call right now, baby. So one of us will help you.
Yeah, so on that note, what do you think makes Call of Cthulhu unique compared to other tabletop role-playing games? What makes it stand out?
The accessibility, at least for me. The BRP system is so intuitive that I published my first 2 Call of Cthulhu scenarios without owning the Keeper rulebook. Throw all the shade you want to.
Reads. He included, we just start playing the game and we're throwing dice. Who knows what the rules are?
And you're good. Roll low. We'll figure out the rest later. So super
roll low. I love
roll low. Roll low. You'll figure out the rest later. It's fine. Roll low. You're either going to go insane or die. If you made it out, you're not going to make it out the same way that you came in. Welcome to Call of Cthulhu. So super intuitive rule set. And I will say, as far as the world, like, Brooke, I can throw you into 1920s Las Vegas with a minor description and you kind of know what you're working with. You don't have to embody a whole new experience or a whole new setting or a whole new world. You can pretty much jump in with at least a boilerplate of like, oh, okay, I'm a normal person. I don't have to worry about superpowers or spells. You could eventually, but it's just accessible. You can sit down at any point and start playing. And it's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this game.
Speaking of horror, what is it that first drew you to the horror genre as a whole?
Because it is in such stark contrast to who I am as a person. I am hyper and loud, but look at Daddy. He's like, yo, I see that.
I'm the same way. That's actually what drew me to it too.
Right. There's something seductive about it, right? Because it's the contrast to who we are. So we get to play in an arena that's not our own, at least my core workings. I get to focus on fear and insecurities and doubt and the things that go bump in the night and the indescribable horrors. And usually I'm just like really loud and just obnoxious and bouncing around and super flirty and happy. So it's nice to have that contrast.
Yeah. And I will say horror is inherently queer too. It's just that weirdness, that scariness. People look at you from the outside and judge you. And sometimes you might have to do something about it. And
yes. I have never heard that comparison made, but now I'm going to steal that and take it away from you.
Oh, Bridgett, I can talk for hours about the queerness in horror. So let's set up a time and talk for sure.
Listen, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm making a note of my phone now.
Our next episode.
Email Danny.
So I just gave the contestants a 2-minute warning, but I do want to quickly talk about some of the amazing Call of Cthulhu products that you can get on Roll20 immediately. So if you are brand new to Call of Cthulhu, we do have the Lightless Beacon, which is a standalone introductory Call of Cthulhu scenario, and it's designed for novice keepers and players. But that doesn't mean that if you've played Call of Cthulhu before, you can throw this in as a one-shot or throw it into your scenarios. And that is free on Roll20 right now. Just throwing that out there. If you are more advanced in the Call of Cthulhu scene, we have 5 scenarios in the Doors of Darkness that are designed for terror and horror and all the eldritch tales that you could ever want. And then most recently, we just got Pulp Cthulhu on Roll20.
Come through, Roll20.
Let's go.
Constantly showing love.
Which is a 2-fisted action adventure against the mythos. So think maybe something a little more campy where you can ham it up a little bit, but you still get that intensity when it comes to a Call of Cthulhu scenario.
I got the pleasure of playing Pulp Cthulhu for the first time, and I got to punch a Shoggoth. So that was great. Just full-on fist in the ooze.
Congratulations on punching your first Shoggoth. We are so proud. Welcome to the family, Brooke.
I got in a car and tried to run one over, and it didn't really end very well because I had to roll for sanity, and sometimes you might lose your mind when you're driving a car and things happen. Oh, and that is time. So let's go ahead and highlight our contestants and bring them back.
All right, welcome back, everyone. How are you all feeling?
Like
Good.
I've written a horror.
I'm feeling pretty
We'll
good. I'm
see
excited.
what kind of horror that is in a moment. We will just have each of you go through, give us the rundown of what you've created for us, and maybe ask a question or two about your experience. Anyone would like to go first?
I'm happy to. While I remember it and it's not too cringy when I hear everybody else is going, oh God. Okay, the Cruise of Cthulhu. So I wanted to do a modern scenario. I think that sometimes that could be really helpful for people getting into it. The premise is a cruise. It's more of a yacht than it's a big sailing yacht, but it is still there's still a good number of couple of hundred 100 or so passengers on there, but not like a gigantic thing, much more sizable for the investigators to actually be able to navigate. They're sailing from Plymouth in the UK and they're sailing around the UK and then up between UK and Europe all the way up to Iceland to see the Northern Lights. It's a very beautiful cruise, but unfortunately it doesn't quite go that way. The idea of the investigators then is that it's sold as a bit of a package deal, and the investigators, and obviously there'd be sensitivity warnings with this in terms of creating your investigator, but the idea is that they could be a couple or they could be singles potentially looking for someone. So you're sending them there with this motive, you're sending them there with an objective, whether it's either to have fun, you might be as players rather than investigators, you might be like, yeah, come on, let's do that, that'd be fun. Or if you're not, it's the motive of the character, like I've got to get out and meet people, I've got to get out and play my investigator is the idea. So it's about an 8-day round trip. It doesn't stop. It goes all the way to Iceland. So there's no getting off. It's like it's isolation in company is the idea that I'm kind of going for here. So you've got this kind of round trip. They want to see the wonders of the sea, the continents, whatever, but they also want to see these beautiful northern lights and see what secrets the universe holds in the Aurora Borealis. The investigators begin by boarding the cruise ship at Plymouth. They get an orientation from the captain and the crew, but the captain seems off, stuttering on some words. He's walking slightly bizarrely. And here the investigators begin to use some skills that would really kind of lead them into the investigation here. What's going on here? Bit of spot hidden, maybe even listening to the way he's speaking. And it's clear that there's something off with the captain and the crew members around as well. The cruise ship begins to swing out from England and night descends. And it's the big kind of classic cruise dinner where everybody gets dressed up. They're all in their nice black and whites and ball gowns and things, and they're all looking cool as shizzle. And basically they go down for their dinner in their finery and drinks, dance, they can get to know people. And this is one of those moments where, as I think as the keeper, you'll have fun playing the NPCs here, having fun with either the singles or the couples on the table that they're on. And the idea is that they get to know the people on their table. This is because during some of the entertainment, there might be some singing, there might be a speech, but it transpires that someone from your table is not there. They never arrived and that they're already missing. And that's the beginning, is that someone's already missing from your table. And again, this starts this idea of, well, where could they be? They have to be on the ship. So it's a closed environment to be able to search for them. Here the investigation begins in earnest. Other passengers missing. They can during this dinner, if they wanted to, it's a busy environment, sneak out, check their room. It could lead to going to the room. The idea is they have a look around, they look for clues, obviously in the investigative manner. They go in there and they see that there's been a struggle in their room. And as they're looking in there, if they're spot hidden, and again, you're failing forward here, they find a fingernail, a human fingernail on the floor, recently freshly torn with blood droplets all around it. Some of that cuticle bit still hanging off, the bit that always hurts us, that's really painful. And then they can go back to dinner if they're kind of like, or report this. And even weirdly, if they report this, the captain and the crew, they're like that weird positive, like, hey, it's all fine. It's all fine. We'll take care of this. And it's that overly fake reassurance, over positive, that thing that we all kind of, it's that, when we look at human behavior, it's the thing that stands out that triggers us. This stands out as that thing that's like, I don't like that. That's too assured. The next day, and obviously any investigation continued. Next day, they kind of get pulled into going about the normal day, convinced everything's fine, or investigating if they want to continue doing that. And there's a huge activity set up, which again gives opportunity to interact with a number of NPCs, the crew, the captain, the other guests, things like clay pigeon shooting, #guns for later. Swimming pools, jacuzzis, hot tubs, although I wrote hot tubes, I'm not sure what that is, but massages, that's where this gets interesting. Even if they don't go for a massage, one of the other NPCs will be saying, hey, have you seen Bridgett? She went for a massage and we haven't seen her. She was at the table last night, and going and like check on that or ask about that. They'll find the door to the massage room they're in open, kind of slapping open, bit of maybe there's blood kind of on the door, on the floor, and ramping up the body horror here again. Obviously some more content warnings. You would see that there's a human ear that's been like ripped with like a significant part of flesh on the floor as well. So the investigators are starting to get the idea that whatever's doing this is kind of not obviously human in its nature, which is kind of inherent to what we're doing here, but they get a real strong sense of this. What they're actually going to find out is that the crew, none of them are human, and they're all wearing lovely human suits. So every time you find one of these pieces of flesh, it's not actually one of the victims, it's actually one of the aggressors, and they're just really careless and not very good at being human. So when they are in conflict, you can rip an ear off, or a fingernail comes off, or a nose falls off, or so you could increase that body horror. Depending on your game type, you could make it comedy. If you really wanted to go tense and serious, you could get into some real kind of, I guess, quite shocking body horror with that. My final notes, because time ran out and I was scared, were when confronted, the staff are even more uncomfortably polite, uncomfortably reassuring, to the point where they're almost kind of like hoarding you back into your room or into a certain area of the ship and saying, don't go over there now, explaining that there is no stopping until they get to the Northern Lights. And as the ship gets closer to its final destination, we see more signs that the crew are looking less and less, more passengers going. The essential idea is that when they get to the Northern Lights, and this is the big finale, you get to the Northern Lights and they have all of these guests. None of them are dead. They've all just basically been restrained, because this is when the big sacrifice to the Northern Lights, to the Aurora Borealis, the gateway to the universe, happens. And at this point, the investigators would either be captives and have an opportunity to get out of the situation and do a bit of a I am Spartacus moment and maybe lead a revolt, or they might actually be hidden and stealthy watching this happen and be able to react from a different environment. And the cruise ship in itself, with the stairs, the vents, the ladders, the rooms, it would allow so many sneaky pathways and ways around to do so. I imagine there'd probably be a handout at some point as well. Woo. That's all I got.
My heart is pounding. Just
Honey.
I'm still thinking about hot tubes.
Yeah, I don't know what a hot tube is. Sounds good though. They're going to be on my cruise ship.
Cruise activity.
Hot tube is the new word for like a meat sack. It's your hot tube.
Yes.
That's what
Yes. Thank you, Jade.
I hate it.
That's how you
That's
know
why
you're
it
playing
worked.
Call of Cthulhu.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. We took a peek about 5 minutes in and saw where you had started off with this kind of romantic setting, and I love how that so quickly turns, and the twist is amazing and delightful. I have a question for you. My question is, a lot of Call of Cthulhu scenarios are grounded in reality, and your scenario is a modern day. Where do you draw your inspiration from for these designs?
So I've never actually written anything modern day yet, which is a little bit shocking. My ballpark is very much my scenarios that I've written and published are all 1920s. My big long form podcast that I've done at the Playhouse is a Regency podcast, a long form story. So that's why I kind of went, oh, I'll do something cool and different. But I'm pretty sure my wife's not going to be watching this anytime soon. So I can safely say this was like a thing we got in the post about a Norwegian cruise or something, and I was just like, that's cool. As soon as you said cruise, I was like, yeah, trapped on a ship, but everyone thinks they're there for positive reasons. They're going to celebrate, but then within the celebrations you twist it. So you could even have, you know, that idea of like the last dinner, people are drinking and eating like flesh and blood or whatever. It's going in a really twisted celebratory, depending on which way you take the investigation, whether you go body horror or whether you go steeped in mystery and maybe more about the ritual of the Aurora Borealis. But yeah, it was a postcard through the door, through the letterbox. You postman sending things to my house.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love it. Amazing. So we will move on then to our next scenario. Who would like to go next?
I mean, I'll go next. Unless Jade, if you really want to, I'll defer to you.
Well, I can if you'd like, because mine sounds a little bit similar to his, and then we'll
Sure.
see if yours rounds out to something completely different.
Okay.
Okay. Mine is also a modern scenario. It will have between 3 and 5 investigators. I chose tropical waters, but instead of going down a research hole that would take up all my time, I just put tropical waters. The synopsis is retracing the original marriage voyage. A longtime friend and acquaintance has invited you all to attend as return guests for a renewal of vows. While the original voyage went off without a hitch 10 years ago, getting remarried is not without a bump or two, and not just because of the motion of the ocean. I have some possible PCs listed. You could have a jealous or jilted ex. You could have a black sheep of the family of one of the couple, a friend who is owed a lot of money. Other possibilities are disapproving parents. There's a lot of different choices that you could have for pre-generated characters in the scenario as suggestions. Possible little mini encounters or problems along the way, including replace or alter their luggage, both of the PCs as well as the lovely couple. I usually tend to go to an emotionless crew when you're trying to give off that vibe that something is not right with somebody. Deadpan. People aren't usually expecting that one. The voyage has a lot of elements in it that would be like the food that's on board is spoiled. The island that they arrive at is not the one that was their intended destination. You can't find it on a map. They have no idea where they are. The themes would be excess versus desolation. So this couple would be a well-off couple. I like to have some of the crew or all of the crew be cultists, which is driving the main plot to its fruition. They're bringing these consumers to be turned into producers, not specifying how yet. Is the food on the island safe to eat? It looks kind of bizarre. And who brought all of the squid?
So
Probably
much
going to
squid.
use, so much squid. Not to eat. They're just around. They're just around. The body horror is something that is the ticking time bomb. Is it actually body horror that's happening? Are people suffering from madness, or is it actual transformation taking place? I'd like it to be a mashup of different idea elements that I've seen in other movies. I liked the desolation that was in the movie Old. It wasn't the best movie, but the desolation and the isolation were key in that one. Some comedic elements like you'd see in Pirates of the Caribbean, but not too many. I like the movie Castaway, but that seclusion is something that's hard to achieve when you have a group of people, even 4 or 5 people together. So the one I would model it the most after, but in a Call of Cthulhu setting, is The Menu. That is an excellent horror movie. And the get to know part where the PCs are getting to know everybody else, I would have them actually sitting at a table dissing on the couple, coming up with things that they don't like about them or secrets or rumors that they know about the couple, and have the players integrate those ideas into the gameplay. And for the big end, it's actually supposed to be a ritual, a marriage bind that the couple has to do with a lonely demigoo. The demigoo would be like a cross between a demigod and a goo. So not a great old one, a little bit less than that. And I'll have to most likely come up with my own because there are quite a few out there that are copyrighted.
Amazing.
Well done, Jade.
So is the ritual to like bind them, like are the couple also cultists?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, it's a surprise.
Mhm.
I think they would want to know who arranged this cruise, who sent them this postcard advertising. They need
They're
to
cheap. It was free.
That's the first warning that something is wrong.
I'm sold.
I would
I'm on-
actually
I'm on the cruise.
probably make it a relative that has gotten chummy with them over the years. There's a lot of puns in here, by the way. So yeah. And is actually not on their side, is trying to remove them from the picture completely.
Oh.
Love the secret
I
betrayal.
love the family
Yes.
drama.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I see a
So, Jade-
spin-off series.
Yeah, Jade, when we peeked in about 5 to 6 minutes in, we saw that you already had some of the possible PCs listed. When you design things like this, do you always try to consider PCs, new players, veteran players, and like what's your process when it comes to giving suggestions and things like that?
I write as if it's both available to the public who has never seen Call of Cthulhu before, but I keep it short and simple and reference back to either the free quick start rules or a link back to the Chaosium products that you can buy for the Keeper's Handbook, the Investigator's Handbook, and move on with the actual story. I want to get people invested in what they can do and not to worry so much about the rules, because Call of Cthulhu is such an easy system to learn. I want them to know you can just jump in. When I run at RageCon, I have a single sheet of paper and it takes 10 minutes maybe to go through everything for first-time players, and then we just start.
Can I just jump in with something just really fast, even before we get to Sheridan's? I think this is such a brilliant exercise. Hey, you person who are considering writing repository or any of Chaosium's community content programs, let this be evidence that you don't have to overthink something. You could come up with a whole plot in 15 minutes and have this ready to go. It doesn't have to be a 30-page scenario. It can be 1,200 words and published. To Jade's point, it can be succinct and to the point, and you can rock out. Also, I hope you guys can see what we're seeing as far as the way that they have organized their thoughts, because all three of them approached it completely differently. And from a developmental standpoint, it is super sexy and encouraging to go, you don't have to have, there's not a right way to do it. There's not a wrong way to do it. The only way to do it is your way to do it. They did it on live in 15 minutes on some, while we were talking in the background. So if you're looking to publish, don't overthink yourself. Don't gatekeep yourself out of this opportunity. The three of them did it in 15 minutes, and all three of them could have this on the repository in 30 days if they just wanted to crank it out. It is possible. It can be done. And sorry, I had to get it off my chest because I got really excited. Sorry, that's my bad.
And if
Not
we
a
can do it,
problem.
anyone can do it. Is that the idea? If we can do
Yeah.
it, you can do it.
Newman, really? We're showing out in
Wow.
public again, baby?
Right, so
I'm afraid so.
Yes, thank you for saying that. We definitely want to encourage aspiring designers and show that this is possible, even in such a small amount of time. These are amazing ideas. I would play all of these. And we haven't even got to Sheridan. So last but not least, let us hear and take a peek at what you have created.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you. So, probably my favorite type of setting for Call of Cthulhu, and one of my favorite horror settings in general, is something set where people are going to be isolated, people are far from help. The player characters are going to be pretty much on their own. And so, as soon as you said, we're doing Cruise of Cthulhu, horror on the high seas, I said, all right, I got this. This is my favorite. So, one of my favorite HPL stories is, of course, At the Mountains of Madness. You can't beat the atmosphere, the slow burn, the fact that they're basically in a place that nobody's ever been, the cold, yeah. And so this is set in the 1920s on board a ship. As to why the player characters are on board the ship, you can kind of go with anything. There's not really any set reason that they're on this ship, and that means you could actually wedge this encounter if it fits with your story. You could kind of put it in a campaign or anywhere that you feel it could possibly fit. So it's pretty mobile in that way. But whatever the reason, 1920s, you're on the ship, Antarctic waters, early winter. So, it's dark most of the time. And there's a lookout. We start off, there's the player characters might be inside. They might have you as the keeper might have given them some odd menial jobs to do, like, oh, here's this interesting thing, and you can roll some skill checks to try to do that. And maybe the players think that's all that's happening. They're in for a bit of a boring session this time. Well, that's not the case, because the lookout, as he's peering into the darkness, into the moonlit fog, looking for icebergs, an iceberg looms out and he shouts and yells, and maybe an alarm goes off. And so that's probably going to prompt the player characters to run out on the deck and investigate, see what's going on. So they get out there, and there's this iceberg, but frozen into the iceberg is a ship. And it's clearly, wooden. It's about 100 years old, not very big, but there's a strange light coming up that's almost an indescribable color, or it can be like a magenta color. It's a freaky light emerging from inside the ship, and you can see silhouetted there that there's the crew is still on board. And at first you might be like, "Oh wow, what's going on? Why is the helmsman still there, even though they're frozen?" But then, as the light grows, you realize that they're not moving at all, and the crew are all frozen in place doing what they were doing. So obviously, what Call of Cthulhu investigator isn't going to jump at a chance like that? So they go across with the captain, because he's interested, obviously, to see if maybe they're survivors, maybe there's something valuable on board. Don't know. Take your pick with what kind of character the captain is. But as you go on board, it's really important to me as a DM to evoke the atmosphere of Call of Cthulhu. So it's just the creaking of the wood, there's the cracking and groaning of the ice as they make their way through the darkness, and they've got to have like a lantern or a candle. Maybe they have a flashlight. If you're a nice keeper, you'll let them bring a flashlight with them. But at the end of the hall, and I'll try to wrap this up because I could go on forever. At the end of the hall, they find the captain's cabin, and inside it, there is an old man with a long white beard. Think, Rime of the Ancient Mariner. He's sitting at a writing table, staring at a piece of parchment. And on that parchment, in black ink, is a perfectly drawn spiral that takes up the whole thing. And it's, this can be an opportunity for the players to roll for different artifacts, or if maybe there's other stuff, but they find, oh, wow, that's a perfect Fibonacci sequence. How did he draw that? That's suspicious. And maybe there's some other freaky stuff going on, but kind of the big thing is on the bed, like on the blankets behind him, there's a large ammonite. It's like a fossilized ammonite. It's like 6 feet long. It's huge. This can be an opportunity for one of your biologist characters to show their chops. Maybe roll and, oh, this has been extinct for billions and billions of years. And so anyway, the captain of the player character ship says, okay, we're taking this thing back to the boat and any other artifacts. And so they get back to the boat, they go back to the ship, and the players are, maybe you can throw in some rolls in there just to keep the players on their toes, but they're going to think, that was kind of boring. Nothing really happened. Well, think again, because in the middle of the night, there's some kind of loud noise, but then there starts up this wailing, keening shriek. And, the investigators, they're going to be freaked out. So this is an opportunity to have them running around. And as they run into the hallway, they find these small, slimy creatures with ammonite shells. Like, they're about this big, swarming the hallways. Maybe there's a crew member and they swarm all over him, and, he gets eaten and all that. It's horrifying. And it's pretty obvious. The player characters have got to get to the lifeboats to survive this. But if they decide to follow the source of the sound, which almost is starting to sound a little bit like an otherworldly shrieking singing, they make their way to the captain's cabin. They throw open the door and they find the captain there looking up at this strange, hideous, tentacled, all too human looking thing that's emerging from the ammonite shell and making the sound. And the only way to get the captain to come with them is if they, knock him unconscious and drag him. But if they do that, the monster is gonna, whatever it is going to be chasing after them. So into the scenario is basically the chapter, I should say, is where they're jumping into the lifeboat. They cut the ropes, they fall splashing into the dark Antarctic seas, leaving them with a choice. Do they try and brave the dark Antarctic Ocean all by themselves and maybe find some civilization and survive? Or do they go back and try to take back the ship to confront what they found there? So there you go.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Whoa. Wow.
That was giving.
Thank you.
I feel like I was just playing. Like, I'm ready to roll my dice.
Wow.
I love that. The amount of flavor and description that you added definitely served to set the scene and really transport us into that world, hearing the ship creaking and everything. You create maps, and so you are familiar with setting the scene. So my question for you is, what is it that you think about to set the scene for maximum scariness, which you have done very expertly right here?
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. I think this scenario kind of offers it offers a really unique opportunity to set the scary scene because when you're on a ship, especially if it's one of these smaller ships, you can really dial in that claustrophobic horror. You can, like I mentioned, I'm big on sounds, so you can describe the creaking of the ship, the groaning of the ice, how you feel, oh man, this place might fall apart at any minute. One thing that can be easy to forget about is the smell. That's an often forgotten thing, but it really, if you can describe the smells, and like maybe they're opening a leather duffel bag and they smell musty paper inside or something like that. So that's one. The other one is really striving to to do less than you want to. Basically, it can be very tempting to overdo it, but you want to understate it. You want to set the scene, but you don't want to have too much freaky stuff too early on. You really want to have it be, more of a slow burn is what I'm really big on. So take your time to develop the atmosphere. Don't rush it, and your players will love it. And then when you have the explosive climax, it'll be even scarier and more awesome and cathartic. So long answer.
Yes, all three of these, so cool,
Honey.
so creepy, incredible. Wow, round of
Brilliant, guys.
applause.
Think about
Great job, y'all.
15 minutes on a surprise prompt. Wow.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for participating. This has been a true joy to experience, and I am so grateful. Thank you all again. Danny and Bridget, do you guys have any last parting words here?
I just want to say that thank you to the designers and Bridget for spending time with us, sharing your hearts and passions and your weird little brains, because this has been just very inspiring, very exciting. And like we said earlier, if you ever had an inkling in design, don't be scared of it. Write the scary stuff down and give it to other people, because as you can see, anything can be done in 15 minutes. You can expound on it. You can always keep working on it, but don't gatekeep yourself. Like Bridget said, don't gatekeep yourself from being a creative powerhouse like these three. Bridget?
Danny, you are my people. Did you know that? Did you know that you and I are now people?
Yeah. I did.
Can I trade you for Newman? Can I knock Newman off
Oh,
and then bring you into the best
I'd
friends
make the
area?
trade. Bridget, do it.
Like
I'd
live
make
on
the
air?
trade.
Is that a thing?
Danny's quality. Make the trade.
We can be a throuple bestie group.
I'm here
Now
for
we're
listen,
talking.
Don't threaten me with a good time. To the three designers, beautifully done. If you don't feel proud of yourselves, you damn well should, because that was absolutely brilliant. I'm going to be low-key disappointed if you guys don't put those onto the Miskatonic Repository. Let me say that again. I will be low-key disappointed if you guys don't put those onto the Miskatonic Repository. Thanks very much. Thanks. We really appreciate it. And I think my last parting thing, just to echo what Danny said, is you can do hard things. You can write this content, you can get published. And this is one of my biggest sticking points. If you are sitting back with a fantasy or a dream to write for a major publisher, whether it's for Chaosium or Paizo or whomever, the one thing that they're going to ask you 10 out of 10 times, show me something that you've finished. So finish something.
Don't
it doesn't
wait.
Have to be perfect. Don't wait. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be beyond reproach. I mean, hell, with the Miskatonic Repository, you can go in and update it every day if you wanted to. Don't do that. I don't like getting those emails every day, but you could. You have options. You upgraded your cover or your title, or that one spelling error is like ruining your day. You have options. But the big thing, guys, is just finish it. You can absolutely get it done.
Yes, thank you, Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget.
Okay, yeah, we will go through. Let's do reverse this time. So we will start with Jade. Just tell us where everyone can follow you, what projects you may be working on coming out soon, or anything else you'd like to share.
I am found at jadegriffinauthor.com, and my scenarios are all on drivethrurpg.com under Jade Griffin. And I am working on the third and final volume of the Lacey Moore journals. The title is The Death of Lacey Moore, Monster Hunter of the 1900s. So that one will be out in the fall. I am almost done with my first ever solo Call of Cthulhu adventure. That one should be out next month at the latest. I have my playtest group. I am gearing up to send it out to them if anyone's interested in that. And then I will be working on both the first book in the new NPC series, Mr. Smith Who Works the Front Desk. That's going to be a novel unto itself. It's already 50 pages in because he won't wait. And I have the fourth adventure in the Amor Fati series. It's called Ebon Roots. The group will be going to Chicago. That is a 1920s series.
Which we have learned is a bestseller on Chaosium. We love the 1920s.
Yeah.
Thank
If
you,
you want to make your paper,
Jade.
go to 1920s. Stats are stats.
Thank you, Jade. Tia Newman, please share with us where everyone can follow you.
You can kind of find me on all the socials. Really, either TA Newman, and you type that in, it'll pop up somewhere, or the best place to find me is at the Miskatonic Playhouse, so www.miskatonicplayhouse.com. Come chat on our Discord, that's where we are, and there's loads of us. It's a huge community, and you know, we branched into all the other ones like Symphony Entertainment, RPG Nook, good friends at Jack and Elias. I'm just making pals with the people at Pretending podcast. There's so many kind of branches and routes out there, and it really is a community hub. So come find us there. In terms of work, I mean, I've got my scenarios you're very welcome to have a look at and drive through RPG. That's Prisoner's Dilemma, Secret Santa, and Be My Valentine, all best-selling scenarios. They're good fun. I mean, I really love them, and someone else does, which is lovely. That's my mum. And yeah, I in terms of what's coming up, I've got a few things on the burner, and apparently I've got a few things I'm not supposed to be speaking about as well at the minute, which is, I love it. It's exciting, but I'm not very good with secrets, so I'm going to go to a pillow later and just say it all into the face of a pillow, just to get that off my chest. But keep an eye out, because there's some really cool stuff coming out, definitely through the Miskatonic Playhouse and possibly through me as an author as well.
Just make sure the pillow is not a mimic. I was going to suggest a pet, but you know.
I'll use one of my children. It's easier, cheaper.
But they have ears and they repeat everything they hear.
Good point.
Thank you. And Sheridan, please let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at AncientMariner115. There you can see some of my half-finished miniature projects, my various board gaming endeavors, and of course a lot of the maps that I've done over the years, which is just a ton of fun. And people can find me on Drive-Through RPG if they look for Bride of the Wilds by H.S. Falconberry. That's the scenario that I've published. As far as stuff I'm working on now, I'm kind of the slacker of the group. I don't have anything currently on the docket except, I mean, this scenario that we put together today has me thinking, man, this could be something. But I'd also love to continue building out some of the Southern Lovecraft Country lore that I've gotten to develop, including some of those Eldritch tomes, kind of riffing on Lovecraft and integrating with him while still being something unique.
Thank you. And to Bridgett, you have been the most incredible guest host today. Thank you so much. Please let us know where we can follow you, find you, and keep up with you.
Yeah. So if you need to hit me up in any type of formal Chaosium capacity, my email address is Bridgett. That is a bridge that you walk across with 2 T's at chaosium.com. If you're looking to follow up with me with any of my podcasting, my actual plays, sensitivity reading, proofreading, or any of that fun stuff, you can holler at me at my gaming company that is dedicated to horror tabletop role-playing games. As Danny said, horror is our happy place. That will be Symphony Entertainment. So you can just basically go to symphonyentertainment.com. That'll get you plugged into all my socials. You can see my CV there and all of that fun stuff there. So if you need me at Chaosium, holler me that way. If you're trying to play or run or invite me to do something, holler at me the other direction. You'll find me one way or the other.
Thank you all. Danny, any closing statements for today?
No, thanks again to the designers. Be on the lookout on socials to vote for your favorite and support these amazing designers as they continue to put out some amazing things through the lens of these weird, when I say weird, by the way, weird little minds. I love weird little minds.
There's a backhanded comment.
Term of endearment.
Term of endearment.
Yes, thank you again for joining us. If you are in the audience, please go follow all of these amazing creators and check them out. And we will see you guys all on the next episode. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Good night.
Bye.